And was secession the proper response to Northern overreach? I'm not saying the North overreached necessarily. I don't know for sure. I think maybe they did, but I think more that they didn't. But I don't know. But the South for sure did, and I know there's people in the South today who think that the North overreached. That's why they called the War of Northern Aggression, right? So even if the Republicans were doing a power grab, was secession the right response to that power grab? I don't think so. I don't think so. And even today, some people try to compare it to 1776. There are some major differences between the Southern uprising and the American Revolution. The Americans in the Revolutionary War, we had no say in what was happening to us. Parliament said, this is what you're doing, do it or else. The North wasn't saying that to the South, except the Western territories. They weren't going to meddle with slavery in the South. They weren't going to meddle with anything in the South. The South would have gone on as it was. So they still had power in the Senate and the House. They could still vote for the president. They were still like all the other northern states. The only thing they were worried about was down the line. There would be so many free states that they would eventually amend the Constitution, and horror of horrors, they would ban slavery. That the war was about slavery. It just was. Like Lincoln said in his, I think it's his second inaugural, he says, what to do with the Western territories was the only substantial dispute. Meaning, and what to do with them regarding slavery. And that was the only substantial dispute. So back to the 1776 analogy, that's just not a good analogy. Because the Americans they had no power when it came to what Parliament and the King wanted. Parliament and the King didn't care at all about what the colonies wanted. They were in the empire, and they were going to do what they're told. Even if there were some Republicans who felt that way, they didn't have those kinds of powers. Even, think about this. The Republicans still respected the Constitution during the Civil War when Lincoln was the most powerful president in American history, even till now. He was the president who wielded the most power ever. And even he respected the Constitution. And so to say that, the Republicans were crazy and they're all John Brown and they're going to start a slave uprising, no, they weren't. No. And even that, well, if they were all John Brown and they were going to try to destroy the South, yeah, that maybe that would have justified some kind of rebellion, but that's not what they were going to do. So it wasn't like 1776. They weren't fighting for their freedom. They had their freedom.